let's talk about why most people stay broke even after getting a job. You see, it's not about making money alone. It's also about the habits that you as a person have. Because if you don't have those habits that will make you retain that money that you're making and probably ensure that that money is working for you, I don't think you're going to be way effective, especially when it comes to generating wealth and also making sure that that money you are making works for yourself, okay, works for you. And one of them is lifestyle inflation. Essentially, by lifestyle inflation, it means that people tend to always upgrade everything. You see, this habit of always upgrading everything when you get a small raise, yeah. And I see this among my colleagues all the time. You see, someone is gets that a small raise, a 10% raise, and all of a sudden they want a bigger apartment, right? They want to increase their rent. They want to increase the number of clothes they have, yeah, etc., etc. And you find that this is one thing that will consume the extra income that that person has, you know. And when income increases, somehow people find, things to consume instead of sort of increasing on things like investment, increasing on buying assets and stuff like that, that will bring in more money, or investing in at that particular race in themselves. I think that's what just makes people, not stay broke even after getting that particular job. Yeah. And then now there's another one. You see, lack of a budget. Yeah. They say no budget, no plan. Yeah. You want to just spend your money without really tracking where each and every shilling or every dollar goes, right? You want just to just buy things. Yeah. You're going to work, you're buying everything. You go to town, you want to purchase things. So you're spending money without a plan. And all of a sudden you realize that you had 100,000 in the bank yesterday. And after a week, half of it is gone. And you cannot even tell where it went, right? You can't tell. And essentially that's just a habit, You see, prioritizing to always have a budget and stick with it within that budget and spend within that budget is also a factor. Yeah. You see, not just earn and spend, but always making sure that everything is planned for. Yeah. Another one is peer pressure and image maintenance. Yeah. You're seeing your colleagues, someone is coming into the office, with a very precious watch, and all of a sudden now you want to purchase that particular watch. You've seen your colleague has upgraded their car, and you now, even though your car is still well functioning and can still serve you well, you now all of a sudden want to increase or buy a new car, right? You want to move to that big apartment because someone else moved there. You want to buy that cloth because someone else has purchased it. And I think that's what keeps you broke, you know. It keeps people broke regardless of having a salary every month, right? In fact, you find that most people are living hand to mouth. Essentially, what that means is you get the money, you spend it. By end of month, you have nothing that you've retained. Yeah. And it's all because of your habits, really, if you ask me. Yeah. And then debt culture. Debt culture is also another thing, especially in Western countries where there is a credit card debt. Yeah. I know in Africa, most of our countries we don't really get that. Yeah. So when it comes to debt, especially credit debt, um, so you find that the interest rates of that particular debt is so high, yeah, and failure to pay before the deadline sort of makes you pay more, right? The interest rate skyrockets, and after sometimes you realize that you are trapped in debt. Yeah, circles and circles of debt. So debt management is also one big thing when it comes to building wealth and not staying broke, right? I think the idea of understanding cheap and expensive debt is very critical. I did a video a while back about things, legit ways you can manage your money, right? I think you can check it. So and essentially in that video, debt was one of the factors, one of the things that you need to do to always manage and understand the idea of cheap and expensive debt, which I think is what one thing that keeps people broke. Yeah. And then always having one source of income and depending on one source of income can sometimes keep people broke. Yeah. Talk of the idea of the economy right now, right? You find that the cost of living could be very expensive where you live. Huh? So you find that all your money are going into expenses, right? Talk of rent, you find that 50% is just consumed by rent. 50% of your rent goes to rent of your money goes to rent, sorry, and keeps you from being homeless. But and then the rest of the money, you know, goes to other things like other expenses, food, clothing, and stuff like that, transport. Yeah. So you find that if you are in such an economy, you find that even living within your means can be difficult. Yeah. And so if you don't have an additional source of income, it can be very challenging for you. Yeah. And that is when now a side hustle businesses comes into play, because you need that so that to sort of complement or supplement your income, to make sure that you have something extra to probably save or invest somewhere, right? Another one is lack of financial education, and I think this is a big one. Yeah, I think a lot of people nowadays in society are financially illiterate. Essentially they don't know things like budgeting, things like saving, things like investing, things like managing debt. Yeah, you find that someone is making a lot of money but again retaining nothing in the process. And so you find all these people, someone is bitter all the time. They're bitter because they lack financial knowledge, and that is what keeps them broke all the time, right? And then this the having the idea of employee mindset can also um, be a challenge. People only want to make money through employment. They don't want to expound their minds, think of other things and other ways they can make money. And I think that's one thing that also keeps people broke. Yeah. And then now another thing is lack of emergency fund. Emergency fund essentially is money that you've set aside just to cover you in case of unintended circumstances in life, right? Talk of illness. You see, having money um, to gather for that, or having insured or having insurance cover is very important, because now you could save your way to 1 million, right? And after saving your way to 1 million, you find that you get sick. And if you get sick, you cannot just be sick and say I'm not going to spend that money. You will definitely prioritize your health, right? That's when now you realize that everything else was less important except your health. Yeah. And that's now uh, when you start spending all the money you had in savings to treat yourself. You see, so having that emergency fund or having things like insurance cover is very important. Yeah, you find that maybe your brother's child is sick and you want to sort of help him, but now you have to touch your savings for you to pay for him or her, for him. Yeah, and without an emergency fund somewhere, that can be a bit difficult, right? And then impulse buying and black tax. Sometimes I say, black tax is not really fair. And personally, I'm not a big fan of this of black tax. You find that parents and relatives, they're always dependent on you. They want you to always help them pay. They want to help. They want you to always help them buy things. They want you to pay for their lifestyle. They want you to educate their sons and daughters, right? In fact, some parents are even so entitled. They can sometimes disown you, say you are not their son, and they can't understand. You see, they're close to you when you only have um, that job. Some parents, they do that. They're close to you when you have that job, but when you lose that job, that's when you realize that you're on your own, because now they don't want to know anything about you. Then now you're not a friend anymore, right? Finally, there is short-term thinking. Yeah, most people think about this monthly salary. Yeah, they just think about the monthly salary and not long-term wealth. Yeah, there's one thing that I normally keep telling people. You see, the idea of always wanting to strive to live passively is key. Yeah, it is very important, because if you can always strive to live passively, I think you can easily achieve financial independence. And financial independence is essentially literally buying back your time. Yeah, you don't have to work. You can make money while doing nothing, or while putting in very little effort. You know, and I think that's what one thing that people should always keep striving. What do you think? Do you think what is it that what is that one thing that you think that most people do, or that one habit that most people have that keeps them broke, despite the fact that they have a job? Yeah. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. And of course, if you like the video, leave a like, and also support the channel by subscribing. I really appreciate you becoming a member of the team, a member of the community. And see you in the next one. Bye.